What's going on, virtual friends? So Valve just announced their long-awaited successor to the Index. Totally out the blue, by the way, in classic Valve fashion. So today I'm breaking down Valve's new Steam Frame VR headset, why I think it's a strong successor to the Valve Index, and why I won't be getting one to replace my Quest 3. The Steam Frame is Valve's first standalone headset, and it looks like a pretty legit PCVR first headset that comes packed with a lot of smart tech, including eye tracking, automated foveated streaming, which we'll get into a little bit later, and a modular design that could get very interesting. But the FOV and display sits a little bit too close to the Quest 3 for my liking, and for my day-to-day mixed reality use, which involves color pass-through, hand tracking, and of course Meta's standalone library, the trade-offs just don't quite add up for me. Think of the Steam Frame as Valve's modern, streaming-first headset that also supports standalone VR, so you can stream your Steam library from a PC over a dedicated high-bandwidth link, or you can run supported games and apps locally in standalone mode on SteamOS. It's basically a PC in a headset. You've got SteamOS on a Snapdragon 8 series SoC with 16GB of RAM and support for microSD expansion, so you can carry around a portable Steam library and you're not forced to stream for absolutely everything. When compared to the Quest 3's mobile SoC and 8GB of RAM, the Steam Frame's standalone headroom should feel a lot roomier for non-VR and VR apps when you don't want to tether or stream. Just don't expect too much of a visual upgrade, since the Steam Frame's 2160 by 2160 pixels per eye resolution is very similar to the Quest 3's 2064 by 2208 per eye. Valve's connectivity solution is where things get clever. In the box, you get a plug-and-play 6GHz wireless adapter that sets up a dedicated link for both VR and non-VR streaming. Inside the headset, there are dual radios. One is dedicated to the AV stream, and the other connects to your home Wi-Fi. Two dedicated links means no fighting your household bandwidth, which should translate into more stable, lower latency sessions than the typical single radio Wi-Fi setups. And if you tend to play in darker rooms, the headset has outward-facing infrared illumination and infrared LEDs that help tracking work even when it's dim or potentially pitch black. The tracking cameras can see IR just fine, so you can keep stable tracking without blasting your room full of light, and of course, no external base stations. That's like a double win. You get higher perceived clarity where it matters, and less bandwidth pressure on the link, which means smoother, cleaner streaming for more games more often. I also really like the direction on expandability. So Valve has gone for more of a modular approach with the front expansion slots and an accessory path in mind. Plus, it's got microSD expandable storage, which I really wish more companies would do instead of just trying to force people into a more expensive storage option all the time. Not many accessories exist yet beyond the alternative head strap that comes with like a top strap for added comfort, and the controllers with the knuckle grips for extra safety. But this is exactly the kind of platform that could get a lot better over time, depending on what add-ons become available. Personally, I'd love to see an official color pass-through camera attachment. I think that would make the device far more compelling for mixed reality use, although that is another extra cost. So why am I not switching from the Quest 3? Well, fundamentally, at least on paper, the visuals feel a little bit too similar. Based on what's been shown so far, the FOV, display type, and effective resolution sit broadly in the Quest 3 territory, which is honestly a little bit disappointing. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect Apple Vision Pro levels of visual fidelity, but micro OLED panels, a wider FOV, or significantly increased pixel density would have been more compelling. The second reason is that my Quest 3 already streams PCVR, and it does it pretty well. It would likely be better on the Steam Frame, I'm not trying to deny that, but an improvement on something that isn't really a problem just isn't a priority for me. The next reason, which I kind of touched upon earlier, is that the Steam Frame comes with monochrome pass-through cameras. Color pass-through matters, at least to me. I enjoy watching content and playing flat screen games on like a big virtual monitor in pass-through mode so that I can still see my surroundings and interact with the people around me. I don't spend a huge amount of time in the Quest immersive home environments, and I know I'm not alone in preferring my pass-through environment for just navigating menus and generally just chilling. The Quest 3 has made color pass-through essential for me. The Steam Frame sadly doesn't ship with color pass-through, though I am hopeful for a color pass-through camera module accessory later down the line. The Steam Frame's lack of hand tracking is another pretty significant downside for me. So hand tracking is a pretty big deal for me when it comes to basically using my headset outside of gaming. So if I'm just casually watching YouTube or browsing the internet, hand tracking is just more convenient. The Quest 3 has strong hand tracking, whereas the Steam Frame doesn't appear to launch with it. And finally, Meta's standalone library is pretty extensive, and I've already invested in a number of Quest exclusive games. If I were to swap over to a Steam Frame, I'd be giving up all of those games that I've already invested in. So for my day-to-day experience, losing the color pass-through, the hand tracking, and Meta's standalone ecosystem just isn't worth the swap, even with Steam Frame's streaming advantages and the standalone Steam library. So that's me, but who is the Steam Frame for? Well, if you're primarily a PC gamer with an extensive Steam library and you don't currently own a VR headset, then the Steam Frame starts to make a lot of sense. You can access your entire Steam library on the go with a massive virtual display to go with it, enabling you to play smooth, flat-screen games or immersive VR seamlessly. The other scenario where I feel the Steam Frame makes a lot of sense is if you've been clinging to your Quest 2 or your Valve Index and you've just been waiting for Valve's modern successor. Well, this looks like the upgrade to go for. It's got a better streaming stack, eye tracking, less friction than with the external base stations, and a path to expandability. The only other kind of group of people I could imagine benefiting from the Steam Frame would be if you already own a Quest 3 or something similar, and you've since decided that like PCVR is all you're really interested in. You don't really care about mixed reality, and you're not that fussed about Meta's standalone library, but if you have like connectivity issues, or you just want to absolutely get the best out of your streaming connectivity, then the 6 GHz adapter and the dual radio setup on the Steam Frame could provide you the best results. If, however, you're a Quest 3 user who is already accustomed to the color pass-through and using hand tracking, I really think you'll feel the trade-offs immediately. And so for that reason, I'm staying put. Now, all that being said, we still don't have a confirmed price for the Steam Frame. Valve says it'll be cheaper than the Index, which should put it at under $1,000, but I imagine it will still be more than the Quest 3. And if that's how it lands, I really don't expect a big wave of Quest 3 owners to be making the switch, unless they're like really PCVR first or like super hungry for eye tracking. Like, I do know there are a group of people which would kill to get eye tracking on the Quest 3. Now, it does appear that Valve have made a conscious effort to cut back on a few features in order to keep the price competitive, such as the use of LCD screens and the monochrome pass-through cameras. So if I had to guess, the headset will go for between $600 and $900 US. I think anywhere close to 900 and above is going to be a really hard sell, as this headset appears to be looking to target the general public rather than VR enthusiasts. However, if it goes for below $600, I would be very pleasantly surprised, and I think at that price point, it would become a very real competitor to the Quest 3. So the Steam Frame wins in terms of eye tracking, automatic foveated streaming for every game, 6 GHz adapter with dual radios, modular approach, standalone SteamOS with 16 GB of RAM, and of course the microSD expansion. The Quest 3 pulls ahead when it comes to full color pass-through for mixed reality experiences, strong hand tracking for controller-free use, and a massive standalone library with Quest exclusives. For me, the Steam Frame is the better device for streaming and PC VR, whereas the Quest 3 is better for overall everyday mixed reality use. So that's where I land. The Steam Frame looks like a thoughtful PC VR first headset with real streaming advantages and exciting modular potential, but for my personal use case, the Quest 3 still wins on everyday features, so that's the color pass-through, the hand tracking, and that big standalone library that I'm already pretty invested in. But how about you guys? Are you planning to pick up a Steam Frame? And more importantly, are there any Quest 3 users who are thinking about making the switch? Let me know why down in the comments below, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on my full comparison video with all of the specs and details once we know the official pricing for the Steam Frame. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to leave me a like. A little bit of support goes a long way for the channel, and in fact, if you even made it this far in the video, drop me a moose emoji in the comments so I know who the real ones are. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.